This is the part 3B of the unit test in ASP.NET Core controller logic, and in this part we will be learning the unit test naming best practice. Now let's see a document in a nutshell which has got the best practices for the unit test, even though this topic is actually not covering the best practices, just to tell you the naming convention is a bit. So this is in this article docs.microsoft.com and /nus/.net/core testing and unit testing best practices. Okay, so best practices. So naming your test, what Microsoft article says that the name of your test should consist of 3 parts: the name of the method being tested, the scenario under which it is being tested, and the expected behavior when that scenario is invoked. Now, why it is necessary? Because naming standards are important as they explicitly express the intent of the tests. Okay, because tests are not only just making sure that your code works, but they also provide documentation. So just by looking at the suite of unit tests, you should be able to infer the behavior of your code without even looking at the code itself. So additionally, when the tests fail, you can see exactly which scenarios do not meet your expectations. So by going with this notion of best practice, let's switch over to Visual Studio, and with our newfound knowledge for naming best practice, we can see that this test is named as index returns a view result with the list of brainstorm sessions. So this is actually the unit test on index method, which is this, the get action index method, this one, and it is actually a returns as a view result list of brainstorm sessions. Okay, so because it was actually giving this list of brainstorm sessions, so session repository list async. Okay, and similarly, however, if you look into the post tests for the post methods, the first method says index, this is titled index post underscore returns bad request result when model state is invalid. So here I might tell you that this part, index post, just this part, index post, this is the post method, index post method, and this is the scenario. Scenario is when the model state is invalid, right? And finally, under this scenario, this index post test returns a bad request result, this part. So this is the first part, name, this is the scenario, and this is the expected behavior. Similarly, if you see the when the model is valid, this is again the name of this method, that is index post, and this part is when model state is valid is the scenario, and under the scenario when the model state is invalid, it returns a redirect and adds session. So this one. So if you now have a fresh look at the these home controller.cs action method and put this side by side once again, so new vertical document group, and you can see that this post method has got 2 branches. When the model state is valid, or model state.isValid is true, and when it is not true. So when it is not true, it returns a bad request of 400, and if it is true, it adds a brainstorm session, add async, and also it returns a redirect to action calling the correct action name. All right.